Hi, I'm Lisa, and I just wanted to talk through a few points that might help you in the coming weeks where we've got exams, we've got SATs, we've got transitions, we've got all sorts of things coming up. And some of these points might be of use for you and your children. Anxiety is a word that we're using more and more today. And it can demonstrate itself in so many different ways in adults and children. And it's certainly something that's a word that's in our language so much more now than it used to be. Throughout our lives, it's really normal to have periods of time when we do feel really anxious. Part of it is a way of getting our body prepared for something that might be a little bit challenging and might be a little bit requiring us to have full attention. So, for example, if you're about to do a driving test, of course you're going to be anxious because you need to be on high alert, you need to be really aware, you need to drive safely to pass your test. And it's the same with children, that they will have moments where, or times when they're more anxious than others. A classic one is before an exam or a test or something that's come up that's not an everyday thing. So part of the anxiety is getting them prepared, raising their blood level, raising their heart rate, and just getting them prepared and ready to do something that might be a bit more challenging for them. Children can get a feeling of anxiety because something's changing, something's feeling unsettled or different within them. And a young child will sense that and think, because they're young, oh, it must be to do with me, or it must be something I've done or I've said, or they very much think it must be associated with them. So it's a very, very common thing for a child to have feelings of anxiety. For an older child, it could be, again, some kind of change, but it could be something more serious. It could be that something's come into their lives that's just made them feel unsettled, unsure. It's something perhaps that's out of their control. It might be that they were going to Cubs on a Friday and actually that's stopped. It's no longer Cubs on a Friday. It's going to be at a different place on a Tuesday or something like that, that could cause them anxiety because it's bringing change. It's something about the unknown and the something that they don't have control over. There are various reasons that might prompt some anxiety with a child. It could be that there are some pressures that they're feeling, maybe from their parents. Maybe there's something that's happening where they feel they have to behave in a certain way. Could be they've got families coming from overseas and that they're going to have to be entertaining them and, singing, dancing, whatever. It could be that they have a sense of feeling inadequate, that they're not going to be able to live up to that expectation. So that can cause them an anxiety. There's various things that crop up in children's lives that make them it raises their awareness of, oh, this is something different. I'm feeling, will I be able to do this? Will I not be able to do it? Will I be able to do it as well as I hope? Sometimes they put themselves under that kind of pressure and expectation, but sometimes it's from an external source as well. And it could be that somebody else has kind of said something that's made them feel, oh, don't know if I can do that. Some children are able to recognize that they're feeling something. They might not be able to label it and name it as anxiety. They may be aware that something's feeling strange within them. From my experience, I'll often say to children, it's coming from your tummy. It's that gut feeling, that instinct, that feeling inside us that might be giving us a bit of a wobbly tummy or just making us feel a bit uncertain, a bit unsure. Other children wouldn't necessarily identify or recognize that that is them feeling anxious. They might just feel, I've got a tummy ache. I don't feel right. I don't want to do this thing. Because they're just feeling that wobbliness, but there isn't necessarily a clear explanation to them as to that's what it is. The kind of behaviours children might show when they're anxious typically would be maybe a tummy ache. It may be the biting of the nails. It may be the hair twiddling or pulling. It may be that they do some kind of regression, like bedwetting, which they haven't done maybe for a year or two. It may be that they start acting up, playing up, getting angry for you may, as the parent, might be thinking, oh, there's no apparent reason for this. They're getting really angry, they're getting short-tempered, or equally they could get really withdrawn and very quiet and very non-committal or speaking or engaging with you. They might just pull away. Sometimes anxiety is not as obvious as we'd expect it to be. It could be something as really subtle as sleep patterns start changing. Your child might go to sleep a bit later or struggle to actually get to sleep when they've always been a child who actually does sleep well. It could be that when it comes to dinner time, they don't want to come and join in. They're picking at their food. They're not eating it as in the way that they normally would. It can sometimes just be a very subtle change. It could be that they're much more fidgety than they normally would be. Maybe they're kind of a bit more kind of twitchy. It could be that there's a family gathering and they don't want to be part of that. They don't want to go outside. They don't want to join in. It may be a kind of lack of participation or wanting to be around other people, almost a slight withdrawing, but not a really obvious thing where you just think, something's slightly out of sorts here. And you might not even pick up on it straight away. You might just think, oh, they're just having a bad day. But when it starts happening, maybe over a few days, you start to think, is there something more to this?